The hotel at the top of the hill was always quiet in the winter, but especially during a storm. As the snow fell outside, jazz crackled on the radio and candlelight danced on the polished wood of the hotel bar. The bartender stood behind the counter, suit pressed and hands steady, despite the weight of his many years. He glanced up as a man settled onto a bar stool, shaking the cold from his coat. "Hell of a night out there," the man said, rubbing his hands together. The bartender nodded. "A beautiful one. What do you have?" "Whiskey, neat." The bartender poured with practiced ease. The man took a sip, then gestured toward the forested lands to the east of the hotel grounds. "You know these foothills well." The bartender's face grew cold. "I know them. I'm a hunter. Been looking forward to coming out here for years. You got any advice?" For a moment, the bartender said nothing. "Stay away," he said in a low voice. The hunter scoffed, but the bartender's expression remained grave. "Those hills don't belong to us." The hunter leaned in, curiosity flickering in his eyes. "You've seen something?" The bartender exhaled slowly. He'd told his story many times over the years. Only a few had believed him. Foolhardy men who didn't know the ways of the wilderness never did. But the man looked insistent. "All right," he said. "Years ago," he gestured to the hotel. "Long before all of this. My wife and I came west. We were young, eager to make a life for ourselves. We built a cabin in those trees, a home, small but comfortable." A wistful smile broke across his face. "We spent a beautiful summer working the land, living off its bounty. But that was before the winter came. The more the snow fell, the more distant she became. She spoke of whispers in the night, voices I couldn't hear, shadows in the trees. A feeling that something was waiting for her. I told her it was the loneliness, the winter creeping into her mind. She thought I didn't understand. We swore never to wander far from the cabin alone. I made her promise me. But one morning, when she stepped outside for firewood, a feeling gripped me that I cannot explain. I followed, just far enough behind. She walked the usual path, but then she stopped and turned her head, like she'd heard someone call her name. She turned east, away from the cabin, away from everything, and began walking. I called after her. She didn't answer. I began to chase faster. And then the mist rolled in. Thick, blue, moving like it had a mind of its own. The wind died. The world went silent. Nothing but dense, suffocating fog. I ran. I screamed her name, but I couldn't even see my hands in front of my face. When I reached where she'd been, I looked down to see that her footprints were gone. The snow was untouched. There was nothing. No sign she'd ever stood there. I was frantic, looking for any sign of her. A moment later, the mist lifted as quickly as it had come, and I was alone. The hunter sat still, unsure what to say. "And she was gone, just like that?" The bartender's eyes darkened. I never saw her again. There have been moments Of course, when I feel her presence. Sometimes, when the snow is thick and the wind is still, I see the mist again, just beyond that tree line. And if I get close enough, I swear, I hear my name. The bartender wiped the counter with the slow, absent rhythm of a man lost in time. Many times I've thought of leaving this place, but of course I never can. When she comes back, I'll be here. The hunter stared into his glass. The radio crackled. Outside, the snow fell heavier, and in the distance, a wisp of blue mist curled through the trees.
Well,
we're back.
That was terrifying.
That was terrifying.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Man, shout out to JJ, man.
That voice will haunt my nightmares.
Yeah.
Poor JJ.
I know.
It's going to be haunting the nightmares of many.
The sound of the mist.
Yeah, also
Exactly
at the
how
end,
I'd picture it.
Yes, it sounds like like a ghost woman, like breathing in your ear.
Oh, stop. I just got the worst chills. Stop it. Look right down my neck.
So we're back in Colorado, baby.
Welcome back,
we
folks.
never left.
We live here now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we live here. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's Gorgina.
We're like staying in one of the most famous hotels, actually.
But the scenery. Scenery. Like,
I know.
I don't know if it's maybe I'm tainted, from living in Queens, New York, for the past 4 years now. But it's like to see that green with like the mountain, the snow-capped mountains in the background and stuff. I'm just like, oh my God.
It's a gorgeous place for how creepy it also is.
So funny you say that. Guys, fact or folklore, Colorado has the most haunted hotels in the country.
I'm going to say fact.
Fact.
This is a subject. I mean, people in South Carolina would probably disagree.
Yeah.
Because it's the most haunted place in the world.
In the world.
Yeah.
Every
Exactly.
single one.
Yeah. But it's considered to be a haunted hotel destination spot. Would you think that when you're looking at Colorado? Like, yeah, I'm going to go see some haunted hotels.
No.
There are so many that we've even got one entire book dedicated to just the haunted hotels.
Yeah, just hotels.
But
Tell us.
I was just gonna say, but we all know the most famous hotel in Colorado, right? Because it's got to be in Colorado again, because that's subjective, right? Like, what is the most haunted hotel in the country? I'm sure people would debate that, but you guys know what it is, right?
I don't know that I would have known the answer to this before doing
I
this.
would, only because I'm so deeply entrenched into the true crime world.
Fair.
And it comes up in every season of every true crime podcast. Because it is such a destination.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, people go to these places. I'm going to bury the lead so that you can unveil for us.
Yeah.
But they go to this place specifically to see this thing, and then everything else kind of surrounds it.
So many ghost hunters have been there. There's been so many specials, documentaries, But it's the Stanley Hotel, and I don't think a lot of people know it by that name.
No, they don't. Show us, Deena.
So have you guys read The Shining by Stephen King?
Yes.
I have not.
It's okay.
I have not
We
read
still
that.
love you,
Yeah.
but I haven't read it since probably high school.
I have seen the movie, though.
That counts.
So.
That counts because, I don't think if you talk to a lot of people and you say the Stanley Hotel, like, it immediately rings a bell. But if you say, like, the hotel from The Shining, or you even say the Overlook Hotel, which is what it's called in the book and the movie, then all of a sudden it's like that light bulb goes off and they're like, oh, my God, that place is terrifying.
Yeah.
But why?
Jack Nicholson's face.
Yeah.
That's why. And the twins.
I was gonna say the little girls.
I never understood why people got like so scared by those twins. I mean, the blood in the hallway did it for me.
So for me, little kids in scary movies, done.
I know,
Little
it's-
kids and dolls, nope.
Little kids, dolls, and their little voices and laughter when there's
Yes.
nothing there. Set me on fire. Set me on fire.
Like the ring around the
no,
rose.
that's,
I think the only thing that would scare me is like the pitter patter of their feet when it goes like really fast, but you don't know where it's coming from.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, maybe I'm just in that like King mentality, but when I was listening to that story, you know, Stephen King had a story called The Mist.
Yeah.
So I started picturing that, and now I'm like, oh, we're in Colorado. He's just ingrained in so much of these horror stories.
He really
like,
is,
he
yeah.
has a hand in
As
everything.
he should be.
I mean, Pet Sematary, when you saw that, if you watched the original movie,
The OG 1970s? 80s?
80s, I
80s,
think.
it is.
Yeah.
If not late 70s, it's definitely the 80s. When the sun comes back, I heard the little pitter patter of those feet, and like that's
done.
what started it for me. So I don't know.
Well, they say kids too are like connected to supernatural more than
I did some weird shit when I was younger and
Yeah.
said some weird shit. My aunt lived in New York City. Actually, I think I might have told this story in the podcast before, but my aunt lived in the city where we are now. And New York City, I always do that. My aunt lived in New York City.
Yeah.
And we lived up in the Catskills. And I was 3 or 4. And I just said to my mom, I said, you know, Aunt Sia's coming up. And she's like, no, honey, she's not coming up this weekend. You know, she's got to work. I was like, no, she's on her way and she has big boo-boos. And she's like, no, honey, she's not coming. And I said, oh, she has big boo-boos and she's crying. And then, like, I'm not even kidding, like 4 hours later, my aunt showed off the Greyhound bus, which was a thing, you know.
Yeah.
And with black eyes because her boyfriend had beat her up. And my mom says it all the time. She's like, all of us were like, demon child. Demon child, get away from me.
The power
You
of Christ
are
compels
the
you.
omen.
Yeah.
But also, you know, this is what, I just turned 38, so this is 34 years ago. Like, who knows how many times that story's gotten changed or
Yeah.
fabricated. But I do believe that little kids, I mean, have you ever seen a little kid looking at something and like talking to someone?
Well, this is
and-
going to sound terrible, but they say because they're closest to the grave, right? So like rebirth kind of thing where like a baby is a rebirth of someone that died. So like the connection is there where like they're closest to the beginning of their life. And so they're still kind of linked to
like another foot in
the
the other world.
underworld kind
I
of
just
thing.
think it's that kids are more open. They're
Yes.
open-minded, right? They don't have the cynicism and the...
Did you hold? Tom, did something change in the control room? Because the sound just.
Oh my God, I thought that was me. I
Yeah.
thought I moved too far away from the mic.
My
No.
mic stopped working
Yeah.
completely for a second, but maybe it was just in our ears. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, we're back.
Okay.
I don't think they have the cynicism that adults do. You know, like you've said in the past, like explain it away,
Sure.
which I get into, obviously, that bad
We
habit.
know.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because like my brain goes to that. Like, there's got to be a logical explanation for this. However, I love it. It's not that I don't believe in ghosts. It's just I want to make sure that if I see a ghost, it's real and not just some figment of my imagination.
Well, I'm just going to say this. I think what's interesting about you is like I will accept it to a point immediately, right? Like, because I want it to be real.
Right.
There's half of my brain that's like, bitch, this shit ain't real. The other half is like, ooh.
Yeah.
But with you, you want to exhaust reality to the point that when you do get to believe it, you get to believe it with your whole heart. Like, you've turned all the stones over, found out that, like, okay, there is no logical. I've looked everywhere. There's no logical explanation. Now I get to be a creep.
True.
So, okay, back to Stanley Hotel.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Well, there are a
Why?
lot of famous guests at this hotel. Have you? I mean, we talked about the teddy bear, right?
Yes.
Teddy Roosevelt himself
Yeah.
stayed at this hotel.
Yeah.
And it wasn't famously haunted then? Or
No.
Okay.
Not at this point. The unsinkable Molly Brown, which we brought up last time, right?
Yeah.
Johnny Cash, Bob Dylan. Two of my favorites though, Stephen King and Jim Carrey.
you just named Johnny Cash and Bob Dylan. She's like, and my favorites are.
My favorites. Bringing it back. But what do you guys know about the origins? Like, do you know who Stanley is?
Not a damn thing.
I just feel like it has something to do with vacuum cleaners.
Oh my God, that's so funny because I can't stop singing Stanley Steamers. Yeah.
I don't know why.
And but that was what is that? Like Stanley Steamers is
it's a
like a carpet cleaning, right?
Carpet cleaning.
Okay, because Stanley Steamer, it really is him. But that has to do with cars. It has to do with the original automobiles. And I was like, oh, that's not as fun.
Wild.
Yeah. So, well, fact or folklore is something. Hang on, let me rephrase this. This is something I have to bring up to make sure we're clear on this. Is it fact or folklore that the hotel was built on ancient Indian burial ground?
Ooh, I think it's not fact. But I believe that a lot of people believe that it is, and so by that, it like explains away why things happen there and around there.
I think that we have whitewashed so much history that probably all of Colorado is a burial ground of indigenous people from what we did to them. But I don't know that it is in the way that we want it to be for the story.
Movie
Yes.
Yeah.
Portrayed.
Also kind of ties into the whole mist thing too, because we've kind of talked a little bit, maybe not too much, but the fact that the blue mist has also been said to be maybe like the spirits of, you know, past people who are like protecting the area.
Absolutely. So it is 100% folklore. Even though on the website of this still popular hotel, the Utes and the Arapacho, did I say it right this time? Arapaho, yes. The Ute and the Arapaho tribes did call this area home. There's not a drop of evidence that it was built on ancient Indian burial ground. And I mean, you want to talk about turning over every stone like you just said? I even found like the National Park Registry documents. Like I went so deep into this.
Yeah.
Apparently people have done like soil samples. They've gone deep.
Yeah.
So no, it is not
literally
true.
deep?
Yeah.
They went literally deep into the ground. Literally.
Down in there. This was apparently started because of a character from the Shining movie, Stuart Ullman, who was played by Barry Nelson, tells Jack Nicholson's character, Jack Torrance. Wow, that was confusing.
It is confusing.
I think I just actually pieced that together. That is.
I don't like when they do that. I don't like when they do that.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Well, it was said in the film, construction started in 1907. It was finished in 1909. The site is supposed to be located on Indian burial ground. So people just love to be like, oh, well, it's in the movie. It's got to be real.
Yes.
I guess that's what they did before the internet.
I believe Stephen King 98% all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Stanley Kubrick, who was the director of the movie, is, from what I've learned,
Of course,
a
his
genius.
name is Stanley.
Jack. Stanley Jack.
Weird, right? But yeah, so not true. Even documented on the website. They're just like, yeah, they were here. We didn't do anything wrong, you know? Okay, thank you for, clarifying that.
We'll allow it.
Confirmation,
So
yeah.
why did Stanley wind up coming out here? Because he's not from Colorado. And so what I was kind of playing around with this like fact of folklore, like why did he decide to build this hotel in this exact spot? I mean, obviously, it's all beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But tuberculosis coming up all the time at this moment with all these people and a lot of deaths within this area that I think kind of tie into these haunted hotels, right? So Stanley, whose first name was Freeland Oscar Stanley, so they called him F.O.
Faux.
Sure. Faux Stanley.
Faux show Stanley.
He had tuberculosis, and he decided with his wife Flora that they needed to move to this area because of how, clean the air was,
the
and
mountain air.
Yeah. And within a certain amount of time, and he gave credit to the fresh air and the abundant sunshine, he got better.
Yeah.
So then they decided to open up this hotel there, him and his wife, and give it this like rustic Western kind of look to it. And no, I've never been there, but if you look at even the original pictures to what they've now revamped it, updated it with, it's stunning.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning.
Well, it says in the description of if you go to their hotel website, it says it has panoramic views of the mountains, which is
And it's massive.
It's gonna be incredible.
Well, yes, and a lot of that are things that have been added on. But in 1909, when it was built, they just wanted this kind of like posh place, this I guess a destination, right? For people to come and rest and rejuvenate, you know, and I guess kind of like thrive in the way that he did, coming from wherever he was from. But it had a bowling alley, it had croquet, it had tennis courts, like all these activities makes me think of like Dirty Dancing. I was like, oh my God, this sounds like an adult summer camp. Yeah. So, and it like ushered in this like new age for this area of tourism. I mean, they didn't even have like electricity at first, if you think about it. So Stanley over here was super proud that he built, let me make sure I get this right. He built a hydroelectric power generating plant so that this hotel had like an all electric kitchen. Like they were ahead of New York at this time.
Wow.
For this time, that's insanity.
Yeah. I thought this was insane though. Apparently they charged like electric wise because not many people had electricity wasn't big then.
Yeah.
So they didn't know how to charge for it. So they charged by the number of light bulbs that were used.
Oh.
I mean, I guess that's smart.
I would be so screwed. Growing up, my stepfather was so cheap. We would be like, there'd be one light bulb plugged in, and we'd have to carry that room to room. There would be no second light bulb.
One light.
I'd be like, okay, I guess we're sticking with candles, guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is an option. Okay.
This is the prime.
But so Factor Folklore, how many people died at this location? A lot of people died at this location, that we have all of these hauntings, because now you're hearing it was built in 1909, 2025 now. How many people died that this place has now become one of the most haunted hotels?
I would assume quite a few people died because of the fact that people were going there when they were sick and trying to get healthy again with the clean air. And I would assume that, like, as much as you wanted the clean air to cure everything, it didn't cure everything. So maybe there were more than we think there would be.
For the sake of the story, I'm going to say nobody's died there.
No one has died there.
But if they died around there, or
I
like
know.
maybe they died and they
In the
visited
vicinity.
there, and they were like,
Yeah.
I'm going to haunt the shit out of this place because it was dope as fuck when I visited.
Well, and it also sits on the top of the hill, in, you know, like below is the little towns. Maybe like the people from the town haunt.
Yeah, they couldn't afford to go there when they were real peoples.
Yeah.
So now that they're ghost peoples, they're like, I'm going to let one
But that just seems
Yeah.
wild to me, because from the things that I feel like I've read about hauntings, about the paranormal, how did you get here? You know, like if you didn't die here, how are you now here?
Could there just be some kind of connection? So like maybe it's someone that stayed there and something happened, and then like that's just where their spirit ended up after, like unfinished
Winchesters,
business,
guys.
you know, like going after someone to like complete their business. I don't know.
Okay, we keep finding this in like all of our seasons. I feel like certain places just become fucking portals.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe you used that word, because that is a haunting, like, definition is a portal. And they say that there is a vortex, a portal.
Oh my God, I'm a witch.
In
You knew it.
Do you see, my research has done some good.
Sure has.
As I'm telling you, like, I went down this route. Every question I asked myself, I then, researched like more and
Yeah.
more, and then I'm like, oh my God, now I know the different kinds of ghosts. I know the different kinds of hauntings, and yes, there's I'll get to that when we talk about like the inside of the Stanley, but allegedly there's this vortex, but no one has actually been murdered there. No one has died like a horrific death. There even was said to have been a homeless man that did die in a part of the property, but this was like, I think in the 2000s, something like that. Like it wasn't back in 1909, 1911. The only, and Stanley himself has been said to haunt the area, the hotel, right? It's his hotel, even though he sold it. Didn't die there. He died at 91.
I mean, get it, Stanley.
1940, he died in 91.
That mountain air did him good.
So much for tuberculosis,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he showed that. So it's like, well, then why are you here?
Yeah.
You know, you said, like, I think the same way, like unfinished business. No, you lived a pretty grand life.
Yeah.
What's happening? But the only thing that I have discovered, as well as other people, is that there was an explosion in 1911. There was a gas explosion. And it involved the housekeeper of the property named Elizabeth Wilson, and she was lighting the gas lamps in the rooms, and there must have been a gas leak in room 217.
The room.
The room, yeah. So
Interesting.
it exploded. Now, she survived. So it threw her down like a flight of stairs. She wound up breaking some bones, but she survived and, in fact, continued to work there. Same situation, died in her own place at the age of 90, I'm sorry.
90.
So, why is she haunting the place?
Well, she really liked it.
Yeah, and are they hauntings that are like, you know, they're trying to scare people, or is it hauntings like welcome to my hotel that I love to be, and even after my death, I want to still be here?
Funny you say that, because someone who claims to have seen her, I gotta find it to quote it directly, because her haunting was probably one of the funniest.
Did she do turn down service?
No, but apparently she
that be
doesn't.
hilarious?
She
The
doesn't.
cuddler, the guy that cuddles, you know?
She doesn't like people who are unmarried sharing a bed.
Oh, I'm screwed.
Oh. Okay.
Literally.
Now, this ties back to Jim Carrey, because do you guys remember that Dumb and Dumber was filmed in this area? So Jim Carrey stood at the Stanley Hotel, and he stood in room 217.
He requested it. Our boy Jim was like, if I'm staying here.
Right, go
staying-
big or go
staying
home.
in 217.
Yeah.
Well, he reportedly got so spooked that he ran from the room half naked in the middle of the night and then went to stay somewhere else and did not come
What?
back. Yes. So the ghost of Elizabeth here is the one that is said to haunt that room, because that had been hers, or at least like
That's where she
where
stayed.
this was happening. But it says the 4th floor is the most haunted in the entire.
What is it? Okay,
Hotel.
so what is it with the 4th floor? That seems to be a trend. We'll come into that later. There's a trend here.
Yeah? I mean, I don't know, big hotels have more than 4 floors.
Yeah.
It's like 4 and 13, apparently.
But you know, with you guys saying you don't like giggling and laughing children, like that is
No.
not the floor for you, because that's what a lot of people say they hear. They've claimed to hear a little boy calling for his nanny, you know, shadowy figures, eerie laughter, things like that. But like you just brought up, the cuddler, shout out, you know, throwback to
Our boy.
Charleston.
Yeah.
I mean, I would still stay in that room. But this hotel in room 428 specifically has a friendly cowboy.
How friendly.
Yeah.
Oh, friendly. He will appear at the corner of your bed. And again, he did not die there. Locals believe that this is the spirit of James Nugent, who's known as Rocky Mountain Jim. And
Best nickname
Yeah, that's a really
ever.
good nickname.
his spirit gravitates towards female guests and sometimes gives them a ghostly kiss while they sleep.
All right, that's a little rapey. Rocky Mountain Jim,
He just got canceled.
have you heard of consent?
Well, it says
He
it's
just got
a
canceled.
kiss on the forehead.
oh, I
Oh,
do
like a-
love a forehead kiss.
like a kiss, like a sweet dream.
Yeah.
Just checking on you guys, okay? Good.
I'm also realizing this is the conditioning of the patriarchy. I'm like, oh, that's so nice. You're still
Isn't
a
that
man in the
nice?
room while you're
Asleep.
asleep or
And he's
changing or.
Touching you.
And someone reported that he's quite the gentleman, as a couple asked him to leave the room, and he obliged.
Oh, well.
that's very
I mean,
nice.
he's polite.
So if you don't
probably-
want him, if you don't want him there, he will leave.
Does he turn around when you get changed? I bet you
I
he
have no
does.
documentation.
I
of that.
bet you he does. He's a gentleman.
I just think that's so funny that he's just like chilling on the edge of the bed, and like, you okay, babe? You good?
Need anything? I'll go to the ice machine.
How do they know it's a cowboy?
He's got a hat
He's wearing chaps and a hat.
What are
and
the
spurs.
Is that the
Spurs?
thing
The
that like
jingle
chings?
jangle?
Yeah,
Chewing
yeah.
on a piece of
Straw?
straw.
Yeah. But I mean, this place is wild. Even in so if you're trying to picture the Shining movie though, there's a hedge mage. So factor folklore for me was, where was that hedge mage during all of this? Like when
There's a
like
hedge
Stephen
maze
King- well,
there?
technically there wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was in the movie.
Yes.
And you know, when Stephen King did stay here, I believe it was in the 70s. That wasn't there. They eventually built it in, I think, like 2015.
Can you Stephen King this for me for a second? Because I don't know this. Did Stephen King stay here and be like, oh, this is a great place for me to write a movie or a book about?
No, him and his wife, Tabitha.
Or did that already, like, you know what I mean?
No, like
Okay.
they just happened to be staying there in 1974. They also stood in room 217, which obviously wasn't like the room 217 at the time, right? This was just happenstance. And they were the only customers there that night. They were kind of just like passing through, needed a place to stay. And he winds up having, very Mary Shelley of him, a nightmare.
Oh.
He winds up having a nightmare that his young son was being chased by a fire hose down the hallway, and he woke up, and then that turned into The Shining.
Inspiration for him.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I've always wondered that. Like, that makes sense. But also, I don't like this because that kind of ruins the, like, are we willing this to sound and be haunted? Are we, like, because there's no...
Stephen King put it in all of our heads.
Yeah, which I believe anything he says, so.
Agreed.
I mean,
Well, what's funny is the novel focuses on room 217 is where all of this haunting and I guess kind of like the worst of it happens. But that's not the same in the movie. In the movie, first off, wasn't even filmed at the Stanley.
yeah. Which is a common misconception. People
Yes.
think that it was filmed there.
Yeah, it was filmed at the Timberline Lodge, actually. And they changed the room to room 237 because, I mean, these people were thinking ahead. They were worried guests would be afraid to stay in the room. And so they wanted to avoid that. They didn't have a room 237. So they were like, let's just do that and be safe. Well, look at the psychos that we have now that everyone's like, no, I want to stay there.
But, okay, can I just say this? Can we go round robin? I would stay in the room.
Robin.
I would absolutely stay in that room.
I would not.
Great road trip, and we're tying her to the bed, and the friendly cowboy will sit on her, and she cannot move.
But, that goes back to what you literally just said, right? We already have it in our minds that this place is haunted of these stories that we heard. And that kind of led me into this because I couldn't understand why this place is considered to be so haunted. Who are these spirits? How are they getting there? Like this, it's just not, the math isn't mathing in my head because of preconceived notions like, well, they didn't die there. They're not like, restless.
Yeah, right.
So I found this information about this vortex, kind of like a tornado of spiritual energy that's said to be in the hotel's lobby.
There it is.
Interesting.
And I'm like, okay, so they teleport, and that's not fair.
I like it.
You know what? That's not the first time I've heard this about Colorado specifically, that because they are on such a high elevation, that just this stuff happens. It causes these, like, pockets.
So I've never been there, but I have
Yeah.
heard about how the elevation can really like mess with your head,
It
because you're
does.
so high.
It does,
up.
and we
Yeah.
did not, when we went there for podcast movement, we were all joking about it. We're like, we're fine.
Yeah.
And then it was the same day on the trip, everyone had a splitting headache. And we
Yeah.
were like, it is either the amount of edibles we have consumed
Yeah.
or we
It's
all
the
have a headache.
elevation, yeah.
And I was talking to a girl in the lobby, and she's like, no, it is 100% the elevation.
Well, and we also stayed, like, the room that we were staying in was even higher up. And when
Yeah.
you'd go up in the elevator, every single time my ears would pop, and then they would just hurt until I went back down again, which was very interesting.
So to me, that kind of explains it away because seeing things, right? You're hallucinating.
Yes.
You're off your equilibrium, right? You're just your brain is kind of playing some tricks, and you already think something's going to be popping out at you.
Right.
Or, devil's advocate,
Do it.
what if, because you're up at that higher elevation, your brain is getting, like they say we only access 10%
It's like
of our
the
brain,
third eye
right?
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if at that elevation, because of the difference in altitude and pressure and all those things, you're accessing a portion of your brain
Right.
that's a little bit more untapped, a little bit more
I wish.
open to this, perhaps?
Well, you'll also like to know that there is a pet cemetery on the property, and there is a golden retriever by the name of Cassie and Comanche, a fluffy white cat that has been seen and heard all around the property.
That's just all I want.
So you would want the hallucination.
I want them.
You want that.
I want to pet the furfies.
I know.
What about the fact that there's underground caves there?
Don't love it.
Don't love that.
Don't love that.
Okay. Yeah.
That
'cause-
ties into the airport and just like Colorado is just a hotbed of weird shit.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like they try to think of everything in terms because they have to battle the elements,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So this had said that these tunnels were built because they didn't want like the hotel help to be seen by the guests, so they needed like different ways to kind of like get around.
They copied
We heard that in New
Disney.
Orleans a lot
They
too.
copied Disney.
Disney, yeah.
And yeah, and I mean Albany even has underground tunnels and stuff to kind of be able to walk
Yeah.
through campus certain areas and not have to deal with the snow.
I mean, we have it in
So-
New York. One of the buildings, it has a whole network of channels and tunnels to get from point A to point B. So you don't have to go outside.
Yeah. So do you want to hear somebody's experience that I found
Yes.
online?
Yes.
What is yes?
Okay, so this is from Glam Journey Travel. Let me try this again. This is from Glam Journey Travel. This says blobber. I'm going to assume that meant blogger.
No.
Okay.
That's a blobber.
Okay. And this
She's
was
a mommy blobber.
2021. She stood in room 401. Okay, so this is one of the creepiest rooms where Lord Dunraven stayed. Now, he was the original property owner that Stanley had purchased the land from. People weren't crazy about him. So, and Stanley had wanted to name the hotel after him and kind of put it out to the people of Colorado, and they voted hard no on that. Voted that it be named after Stanley, thus the name. So now she's staying in 418, which is where he stood. As we were walking down the fourth floor hallway, we were laughing and giggling when a cold breeze swept right by me. My immediate reaction, was there a window open?
No.
All of a
We're in
sudden,
the hallway. There's no windows in the hallways.
all of a sudden I felt it. Okay, but what about like air vents?
No.
Okay.
They're
All-
closed. It's
you're right.
Thursday.
It's Thursday.
What year is this?
2021.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I felt a man behind me breathing down my back. I turned around and no one was there. A few minutes before that, my young daughter kept saying that someone was trying to grab her hand when I shrugged off until my experience, which I had shrugged off until my experience. I officially never want to return to the fourth floor ever again. Never. Later on that evening, I told the hotel employees about my experience, and they instantly knew who it was, Lord Dunraven. The hotel employees informed me that he loves blondes,
Ooh, girl.
and he tries to hold little girls' hands.
Nope. And we're back.
Also,
word,
he is known to roam the fourth floor hallway when the ladies are present. That is the reason why I slept with the room light on all night.
Okay.
The light is not going to protect you, boo-boo.
Well, when I was little, I was convinced that the
mean,
blanket
yeah.
would.
Yes, they
So-
can't see you.
They can't see
Or
me.
like if your feet were out of the blanket a little
You're
bit,
dead.
that's it. You're done.
You're done.
You are dying tonight.
Because they would just reach out from underneath the bed.
And grab
Done.
I mean, but how do you escape a ghost?
I
Call Dan Aykroyd.
I like that answer.
Yeah.
would just like throw water on it. And run.
Can I tell you really what my plan was when I was little? I went
Call the
through
Winchesters?
I went through a real Harriet the Spy situation where, like, my sister and I took diaries.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. to Michelle
Yeah,
Schreckenberg.
love you.
But we would like keep like journals. It was in a Trapper Keeper that
Of
had
course
a
it was.
rabbit on the front.
Yeah.
And so we would keep notes for the ghosts. By the
Just
way,
to
our
let
house
them
was
know.
built like 4 years before we moved in there.
Yeah.
But
So definitely haunted.
absolutely haunted.
Yeah.
We
Ancient Indian burial ground?
clearly,
Yeah.
actually, hilariously, yes. I grew up on Neshoba Road, which was okay.
Yep.
Anyway, so we always had a plan. We had a little like throw blanket that someone had knitted for us when we were babies, and if you threw it on the ghost, would it make the outline shape of the ghost so,
So
you
you
could
would
see the
see
ghost
it.
coming at you?
Fair. I think
Is that real or fake?
I
do we
would just
think?
close my eyes.
Yeah.
Well, there are different kinds of ghosts, different kinds of
Yeah.
spirits. And I think this kind of ties back to that story, too, with the mist. So there is something called ectoplasm or ectomist. I don't really know if it comes in that bluish color, but the mist or fog that people see kind of like swirling around, that's what they say this is this cloud that appears several feet off the ground, swirls around, and it almost like it's orbiting.
Yeah.
And you can catch these things on video. People claim that they've seen it most of the time outdoors in graveyards, historical sites, right? Colorado's pretty historic to me.
Yeah, and also that goes back to that vortex portal thing, right?
But what's the difference between a ghost and a poltergeist?
Ooh, I feel like we've talked about this.
Is one like a physical, like you can touch it, and one is just a...
Oh, I don't know.
Is one malevolent and the other one's just like,
I feel like
happy to be here.
I feel like that's where my brain is going.
Okay.
Maybe like one, you might not die.
Yeah,
One, don't make it mad.
right.
Okay.
Like it's out to kill you.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
pushed it too far.
right.
we need to have a ghost hunter on to ask these questions to.
Yeah.
Well, from
Dina would just argue with him the whole time.
yeah, I'd be like, that seems sus.
That's cute.
Yeah. So I found these different lists of different kinds of ghosts. One was called the interactive personality, which I feel like that's our cowboy,
God, that's going to be me.
right? So it's they can be friendly, maybe not, but they show themselves.
Yeah.
They become visible. They make noises. They can touch you. They emit like an odor. You know, so it could be like perfume, cigar smoke, like something. I don't know. I look at that as like a trigger kind of, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it retains its former personality of when they were alive, and they can feel emotions.
That makes sense because you know how like when we did Charleston, we talked about the sister
Yeah.
whose sister had died and she was like the teacher and she stayed up in the window looking for a sister that died in the fire. I've always thought too, I know we always talk about 13 Ghosts, but I always think about
Great
it.
movie.
About how the ghosts had different energy, like based on how they died or, you know, like if they
Yeah.
were like we always have a white lady in every
do.
season,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And more often than not, it's a woman that something horrific happened
Right.
to.
She's like
And she's
mourning
pissed
something
or
she's-
sad.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
mean-
like sad that turns to anger. You
Yeah.
know, like a happy
Revenge, maybe?
thing taken from her.
So
too
maybe
soon.
ghosts become poltergeists.
That's what I was thinking. Like they're angered so greatly that they turn into another force.
Well, it's said that poltergeists are actually one of the rarest forms of hauntings. So I think if people are like, oh, you know, my house is haunted by, it's a poltergeist,
Probably not.
relax on that.
Probably not. It's
Like,
probably
we're
What
not
is a
Casper.
poltergeist?
It's probably Casper.
Oh my God, I wish.
Well, the word poltergeist actually means noisy ghost because it is said to have the ability to move or knock things over, thus making noise, manipulating physical objects, the environment, whatever. It says another frightening aspect of the poltergeist is that the event usually starts out slow and mild, then begins to intensify. So that's why I'm like, okay, maybe we were Casper at one point and now we're demonic. I don't know.
That makes sense because you hear the stories of people that are like, it started out just like hearing noises and all of a sudden cabinets are shutting and doors are shutting and then stuff goes missing and then, yeah.
And you've heard of cold spots too.
Do you think it's out of? Here's this. Thinking about ghosts.
We're asking Dina as if she wrote the Bible
I
verse. You tell
wonder.
us.
I
Ready.
wonder if it's something where it's like out of frustration of not being able to communicate to the living world. Is that why they moved to this other form?
Well, I think that brings it back
You
to
know?
what we were
Yeah.
saying, you know, with the unfinished business.
Yeah.
Ghosts, in my personal opinion, whether there's evidence of this or not, right? If a ghost has appeared, they have a message. They have a purpose there, right? They're trying to communicate something. So they're not just there to hang out, which is, again, why I kind of am like, okay, then what's the deal with the Stanley? Because why are these ghosts there?
I think they are there to hang out sometimes.
Maybe they are. Maybe they just enjoyed it so much. But, I mean,
So there's
now
just
I'm questioning the afterlife,
different
you know?
categories of ghosts, I guess.
Well, there's also a funnel ghost, which sounds fun.
He's
But-
fun at parties because he's just got a beer bong.
right? Mostly spotted in like homes, historical buildings. The funnel ghost or vortex, it comes from the vortex, is frequently associated with those cold spots. So maybe there's this vortex at the Stanley, and these ghosts are just like popping out. Maybe they need a vacation.
Don't we all? I get it.
Fair.
And maybe that was their favorite destination spot, you know?
That's what I was thinking before when you're like, why is this place haunted? I feel like maybe all of these fans of the book or the movie were like, you know what? I'm going to give people what they're asking for. And if I get to haunt, I'm choosing the Stanley.
Well, these portal hauntings are said to be kind of like controversial, which, I mean,
Well,
aren't all of these? But it's
Fair
all
enough.
speculation, right? There's no
Yeah.
evidence of anything. Because there's little known about it. Like, this kind of just became a thing thanks to, you know, a lot of sci-fi movies, things like that. But I think it's possible.
Yeah.
If orbs and Rougarous are possible, I don't see why a vortex is out of the norm.
Oh.
But I mean, I think the Stanley really kind of paved the way for this like hotel destination spot in
100%.
Colorado. You know, I know I had a couple honorable mentions that I'm gonna wait on because unless you want me to go now.
I mean, we're already in creepy hotel world.
Yeah. Keep going.
Have you guys heard of the Black Monarch?
I've not.
No.
It sounds like
But
such
I
a good
love-
team
It
name,
sounds
right?
like
I
I was
love
going to say
it.
that's a show, and we
Yeah.
need to watch it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying it's another. I feel like I'm promoting them like
Perfect.
right now. So if you want to give me a free stay, that'd be wonderful. I'll bring my girls. We'll have a good time. They actually built their hotel to kind of like play up this haunting things. Like they have specific rooms, like the H.H. Holmes room.
Interesting.
Ooh, Devil in the Wild City.
Yes.
Here we go.
Elizabeth Barthory, the 17th century Hungarian countess who is said to have bathed in the blood of her victims.
I don't have a song for that.
Yeah, that's a room. There's a witchcraft room.
I'm in.
And
When was this hotel built?
preserved, it was the hotel's owner purchased it was a brothel and saloon originally from 1899.
Wow.
I got to be honest with you.
I wasn't expecting
The
that.
minute something was a brothel, I'm in.
Yes,
Yeah.
right?
You know it's a good
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Like the Pink House.
It's in Victor, Colorado, which I'm not sure how close that is to the Stanley or like Estes Park and that area, but it used to be the 5th largest city in the state. So if you think about it, it got a lot of hits.
Sure did.
So I'm sure a lot of fun and crazy times went down there.
Just think about it during the gold rush too. These people are
Yeah.
coming in and out, coming to make their quick, chunk of change and get out of there.
Funny you say that because during that time, it was said to have a population of about 18,000. And then by like the 1990s, like straight up ghost town, right? But miners attempted to organize at one point, like unionize. And the corporations that were in that area that owned the mines were like beyond ruthless. They hired gangsters to commit murders there. There were train derailments, fires. I mean, Victor was a wild time.
That is
I'm just
crazy.
picturing like straight up Wild West, even though I don't know if Colorado would be considered the Wild West, but like that, I'm gunslingers.
It is for the sake of this story, yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's
Yeah. So
appropriate.
that was my like honorable mention that I'm just like, yeah, if the rooms were booked at the Stanley, I'm going to the Black Monarch.
Yeah. That's really
Also,
cool.
I just want to stay in each room. Are they themed?
Yes.
I love a good theme.
There's a witchcraft room.
And that's the room we do the witchcraft?
I guess so. And there's a Nikola Tesla room. I don't think that one's pretty popular right now.
Not the best.
Yeah.
That's not aging well.
We're gonna veto that one.
She's going to change the name.
That
and
one that one gives plenty of nightmares all on its
it's-
own.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
Just mention the name and you're like, okay.
Pass.
All right. Okay.
And did you know there's a castle?
I didn't until when we were doing some research, you had sent a photo of it, and I'm very excited to hear about it.
I love a castle.
Well, honestly, I have nothing bad to say about I think it's Miramont
Yeah,
Castle?
That
that
seems right.
sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miramont. Yeah, absolutely stunning.
It's beautiful.
Absolutely stunning. It's 14,000 square feet.
It looks
40
like
bedrooms.
it looks like something that would be in like Scotland. It doesn't look like something that would be in Colorado.
It's like this beautiful Victorian era, like just castle, obviously, like frozen in time. Just absolutely keeping it so to the point of where it was originated, right? Which was in 1895.
Have you ever stayed in a castle?
No,
It's amazing. Also, it's very cold.
I was gonna say.
I bet. Well, this used, it was, I think, originally built, or it must have been originally built by a priest, and then it became, they sold it, or he passed on, and then, what is it? What is the word that I'm looking for? A group of nuns. Is it cemeterian? Is it?
Can I just tell you?
Oh my gosh.
We just
We
did
were
an
just-
episode.
Okay.
We recorded an episode before Folktown, and we did not know what to call it, and we called it a nunnery. It's a seminary.
Thank you.
Yes.
And you
Should
said
say
nunnery.
mortuary.
She said nunnery, and I went, yep. All right.
I was like, I know it's something with an S, and I didn't write it down. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So, and again, for tuberculosis patients, they would take care of these
Yeah.
people. And now it's a museum, you know.
Wait, my brain just worked.
Yeah.
Convent for nuns, seminary for men, for priests.
Interesting.
Welcome, Amanda's brain.
Has entered the show. But it just seems like really cool that I'm just like, I am mentioning that.
Yeah,
That's
that is really
incredible.
cool.
Because if places are going to be haunted with friendly ghosts, like I want to go stay at the castle and meet them.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, it's a castle, so I'm in.
You're not going to like it though.
Oh.
There's a doll room.
Yeah, I'm out with the dolls.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'll stay away from running into Annabelle. while at the
And
castle,
allegedly
but-
a small girl that plays in there.
Great.
And I mean, like,
I
from
will
the,
pass.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
like the creepy dolls,
Yeah.
like from back in the day that I was like,
Yeah.
Did you guys ever have
The ones
someone?
that look like they have souls in them.
that
Yes.
their eyes
Did-
follow you.
Did you have any aunts or people that collected them? Did your mother?
Do you know my mom?
Okay,
I
they're
don't.
terrifying.
She had one of her rooms, like she redecorated when all the kids moved out. One of her bedrooms, she loves porcelain dolls.
Yes, those are the ones that haunt my life.
And the room was just filled with them. So when you would stay in said room, all of them are watching you. And then she had one that was like a baby doll, but it was a porcelain baby doll. So just the face was porcelain, and it literally would watch you. Like you'd be in the room and I swear the eyes followed you in the
I don't
room.
like that.
Like if you stayed in the room, you would turn all the dolls around because that's how you felt like you were being watched.
I really don't like that.
I think it's in the basement if it makes you feel better.
No, that's
so.
That doesn't.
No? Okay. I was going to say easily avoidable? No? Okay.
That makes it so much creepier.
Why in the basement?
That's true. Don't quote me on that. I did not write that down, but
Maybe
I felt
they
like I remember that.
had to put them somewhere, so they put them in the basement.
They moved
storage.
them down, yeah.
Just like in a random room down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they actually said the chapel is the spookiest room on the estate. So people say they hear, disembodied voices, strange sounds.
That makes sense though, because if you think of like what's the tell story, right? Like these spirits are trying to pass on to the next thing. They have unfinished business, right? Where are you going to go to seek solace? Is
Who are you going to
the
call?
chapel.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan Aykroyd.
So yeah, but it's wild how many hotels have a story in this place. There's even this will be my last one because I cannot not mention this.
Okay.
Have you guys read about Red Mountain in Colorado? It's in Manitou Springs.
So yes, but maybe not to what you're going to talk about.
You never heard of their coffin races?
Yes. Yeah. I do know what you're going to talk about. Yes. Yes.
It's pretty good.
Amazing. So the story goes that there was a woman named Emma Crawford. Again, made a trip to the area for a cure. Like I'm gonna assume it was tuberculosis.
Fresh
again.
air.
Yeah, fresh air. And she died at 19.
That's not awesome.
Very sad. And it was her last wish to be buried on the summit of nearby Red Mountain. Right. So her fiance, along with 11 other men, carried this out, buried her where she asked. But after years of stormy weather and erosion, her remains wound up getting washed down the side of the mountain.
Okay.
Like peekaboo.
All right.
So because of this unsettling upheaval, many still believe that Emma haunts that mountain today. Some have even seen her, but I guess someone got that image in their head and they've decided to hold these annual, like we can go next time maybe, coffin races.
Wait, didn't we talk about this in the bonus episode?
I think we did because this story is very
Very familiar.
I just remember the golden retrievers.
Yes. And in my brain, thinking about this, I'm going to partake.
Yeah.
But,
We can make it like a bobsled and 3 of us can go.
I mean, you can't
I think we
afford
looked
a real
at images.
We
of
did.
this.
We
Yes,
did.
yes,
Yeah, we
okay.
talked about this
It's
in the
coming
bonus
back.
episode.
It's all coming back.
We talked about this in the bonus episode. But, like, I think about it now and, I mean, kind of fucked up to, like, celebrate her by, like, well, look at us doing what you did. Slip and slide. It's like the slip and slide of ghosts.
It's kind of very sad, actually.
It's a little tough. I'm still going to try.
Yeah.
Like a soapbox derby for dead
Right.
people.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you're trying to give her memory, like a happy, like it's kind of a terrible thing that happened to her.
I don't know what my stance
positive
was
spin
on
on
it
it.
during the bonus
I
episode, but this
clearly
is
blacked
who
out.
I am today.
Yeah.
This is what I say today.
I just keep picturing Wednesday.
Me too.
And the races, you know what I mean?
The pond, on the pond.
Yes.
I'm making
Yeah.
a telltale heart coffin,
Oh
you know?
my God, that'd be lovely. Really beautiful.
Yeah, I like it.
Just saying. But, I've heard about is it the Hotel Colorado or is it the Colorado Hotel?
It's the Colorado Hotel.
I have both.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you read because it is literally like depending the book that we have here, it is the Colorado Hotel. But I think in other pieces of information, it's flip-flopped.
Okay.
So I think it depends on who you talk to.
Okay. What'd you hear
Yeah.
about this lovely establishment?
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Does it top the Stanley and its friendly
You know what's
cowboy?
interesting is as you were talking about the Stanley Hotel, so much of what you were saying, I was like, okay, yep, that's same, yep, same.
It does seem like the same
The
story.
biggest difference is that there were deaths in the hotel.
Okay.
But that makes sense to me then.
Yes, and it also has kind of a dark history. Not dark, maybe dark's not the right word, but it went through some phases. So the Hotel Colorado, it overlooks the Colorado River and the Hot Springs Resort, which I thought was an interesting visual. We had our map last time, so I was like, I need to see where this is actually.
Yes, I created a map.
And
I don't care.
And I love it though; it was so good.
I needed to visualize where these places were.
Yeah, well, because there's so many of them to figure out where they all are.
It was my friend's Joey Tribbiani moment that I was like,
Yeah.
I just want to get into my map.
Get into my map.
So this hotel was modeled after Italy's 16th century Villa di Marsici.
She just keeps trying. I give her so much credit.
You know?
Yeah.
Whatever you
Spell it.
say, I'm going to go yes.
Yes.
And the original hotel was a 6-story sandstone and cream brick building in a U shape. And then it was twin towers shelter a central court with colorful gardens and fountains. So it was a U-shaped, and in the center was this beautiful garden and flowers and fountains.
That sounds
Yep.
beautiful.
So very, very pretty. So I'm not going to dive too much into the history
Sure.
of it because there's a lot. You could really go in there. That's for you. And lots of people stayed there. So there were lots of presidents that stayed here.
Did Jim Carrey?
Teddy Bear Story. He stayed here. The owner of Hope Diamond, that was just a random, I don't know who that is, but he stayed there.
Honorable mention.
Wait, the Hope Diamond, like the one from the Titanic?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Unsinkable Molly Brown was living
because
there at the
also
time, right?
exactly because also someone else stayed there, and so there were all these famous people that stayed there. But in 1913, the hotel was commissioned as a Navy hospital, so it was turned into a hospital during that little time period.
1913?
1943.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I
so
might
this
have
is like-
said 1913.
This is like, okay, so this is like World War II.
1943. And so it was kind of given an overhaul. A lot of the original fixtures were ripped out, changed to hold this hospital. So that was the case for quite some time. And then it was purchased in 1971, and the new owner restored some of the original character that the hotel had in the very beginning. And then in 1977, the hotel was listed as it was listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
I have that documentation.
Yeah, and so it had a lot of history, right? And so with history come ghosts.
And I mean, that actually, thank you for saying that. That makes me also think that one of the things that I've read when it comes to these hauntings and like the why are these ghosts here, right?
Yeah.
It connects us to the past, doesn't it? It
Yes.
gives us like that opportunity to kind of like dive back to this time, maybe kind of dig around a little bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully not repeat history, maybe.
Well,
We haven't learned that yet, but
No,
you know,
we're
that's a different
not.
masterclass.
nope.
We weren't crate trained.
And so what's interesting is I was mistaken. I was commenting on the 4th floor in the Stanley Hotel, but in this floor, so the hotel is haunted by several ghosts,
Of course.
who have been encountered by numerous employees and guests numerous times. And over the years, the 3rd and the 5th floors have experienced the most paranormal activity.
Okay.
And
Skip
so
the 4th.
there,
I
yep,
mean-
exactly. So there's lots of stories. I'm just gonna read a couple of the ones that I thought were kind of interesting. So the first one I'm going to tell you about. This is in 1994. A food and beverage manager was staying in room 558. Was upset when his TV suddenly began changing channels, and he often smelled tobacco smoke in his room. He was very frustrated. Nothing ever came of it. They
That-
never found anything in the room.
That sounds like an interactive personality
There you
spirit.
go. So same room, different guest. They were also staying in room 558. The guest closed the window before going into the bathroom to take a shower. When she came out, the window was open and the lamp and a book that she was reading was laying on the floor. She closed the window again, she picked up everything and returned to the bathroom. When she came out, the book and the lamp, again, the lamp was off and the book was on the floor and the window was wide open. And then throughout her stay, which I would be like, after that, I would have left.
I
would have been out.
Yeah.
I would have been out.
But
I
apparently,
mean, that would be enough proof for me.
apparently she did not leave. She stayed, and things just continuously moved, and like the light turned off, the window was opened, it was just constant. And then, okay, here's another story. The Bell Tower is what it's called, and it's room 661. And this is the Molly Brown Suite. This was named after Margaret Brown, the heroine of the sinking Titanic, who often joined her wealthy Eastern friends at the hotel. The suite had a ton of paranormal activity, and many of the guests awakened to see a woman in a flowered dress standing at their bedside. One man became ill while staying in this suite, and his wife, believing fresh air would help his recovery, opened all the windows before going downstairs for dinner. A strange woman came in, closed all the windows, scolding, "If you want to get well, you need to avoid drafts." His wife returned to find the suite was closed up tight. The same thing happened the next day when the wife opened all the windows and went shopping. The third day was the same repeat situation, but now his wife was becoming just frustrated with the situation and was like, who is this woman? Who is this intolerable woman? Thankfully, the following day, the husband was actually feeling much better, and he was able to leave the suite with his wife. And they said when the houseman took them to the depot for their trip home, the man told him to thank the woman who'd been so helpful when he was ill. And the horseman laughed, saying she must have been a good spirit. So they're saying that it's the spirit of Molly, and she was trying to help the guy because he was very sick.
Molly.
I
Definitely
thought
a
that was-
recurring theme of sickness and
Yeah.
health and healing, right?
Yeah. And so then this is just one more story, and then we can go on to our next things. But this is a workman in room 328 heard a woman's voice say hello. He went into the bathroom and heard the greeting again. He went into the hall and asked the housekeeper if they dropped into the room or seen anybody. They didn't. He returned to the room, and when he started to climb out the window to his ladder, an unseen hand suddenly grabbed the back of his shirt and pulled him back into the room. There was no one there. The hall door to room 328 refuses to stay locked when the guests go out, and the door doesn't stay locked when the guests go out. And then several have complained that it's like wide open when they return, and no one has been in or out. So those were just a couple of the, crazy stories. There are also like more stories that you can definitely find and research more too, but there is a lot with the basement of the hotel.
I was gonna ask. Okay, because this is gonna confirm if it's Colorado Hotel or Hotel Colorado for me when I was looking.
Okay.
Because you said that it was turned into a place for soldiers, right, during World War II.
Yes.
The basement was, or just the whole thing.
It just says the hotel.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't do a ton of research into that part of it, but that's what it said. There was a time frame where it was turned into a hospital.
Hospital. Again,
but the basement apparently has always been like especially spooky. Everyone that works there
it's a
talks about
basement.
Exactly.
Not a good time.
I do not go down to places like that.
Can you imagine like
voluntarily.
the history of that basement too? So it says that, and this I feel like might also tie into a story later on. It says that there's a laundry room in the basement, but before it was a laundry room, it was a morgue during the time that it was the hospital. And so employees have seen an old cowboy in 1880s clothes and some Native American women, but they always vanish, which is crazy. This is going to tie.
So that makes sense to me because I had read that there were these gigantic ovens in the basement because it was used as a crematorium.
Yep.
So that
totally.
must, yeah.
Yes.
And of course, like that just gives me really bad World War II vibes, you know, that I'm just like,
not awesome.
It's not great. And there's lots of stories of like women going into the laundry room to do stuff and like the machines don't work and then they leave to go get someone to help them fix the machines and they come back and all the laundry's on the floor and the machines are on.
Well, I think that's because spirits don't like, allegedly, cleaning supplies, like electric cleaning supplies, because similarly in the Stanley, they had said that if you get a little too spook, find a member of the cleaning staff and just have them like vacuum, because ghosts hate vacuums, and the machines go haywire and things turn off and plugs come flying out of the wall. So I'm thinking electricity, energy, right? So maybe it opens up another portal, like get rid of them.
Well,
maybe they get vacuumed up like the Ghostbusters.
With you saying that, so because there were so many people talking about these hauntings when they go and they stay at the hotel, several paranormal groups have conducted investigations at this hotel specifically, and like they report a great deal of activity. They say CCPI Paranormal Investigations picked up EMF fluctuations near the attic door across from room 551, and during this time they snapped a digital photo of the very large orb that was in the area when they were doing it.
So EMF, electromagnetic fields, right?
Yeah.
But see, this is where my brain goes now because I've seen too much, I've read too much, that I feel like, are there power lines nearby? Because if so, that negates it.
Like, where is that coming from?
But not for nothing, I would be more afraid to stay there than the Stanley.
Same. And so many of these too, they talk about like they're in an area and they just all of a sudden start to smell like cigarette smoke or cigar smoke, but no one is around. And then there was another story where a group of photographers were taking photos. They had just finished like remodeling some of the lobby area. And a photographer was taking photos of the lobby, and when he was developing the photos, in the photo there was a gentleman wearing like a 18-something century getup, smoking a cigar in the lobby, but there was nobody in the lobby when they took the photos. And there's like an actual photo, you can look it up online, of this photo.
Here's the thing. You look cool if you're a ghost and you're smoking a cigarette or you're smoking a cigar. What are the Gen Z ghosts going to look like, just popping zins and vaping in the corner?
Yeah.
Do you ever see that? Bro, you're sus.
Do you ever see that that meme that it's just like, we don't have, 1,800 ghosts haunting houses anymore. Like eventually it's going to be Gen Z and they're going to be like, it's Britney, bitch.
I would love that, actually.
I mean, but that's why these places have to be marked for.
It's very true.
They got me.
They're entering the soul.
They're eating you.
That's why these places have. That's why I just looked up. That's why these places have to be marked for historical sites, you know, so that they can't be torn down, so that nothing can happen to them. Because, like, honestly, I just don't see what we have nowadays that can even hold a candle to these places.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, they're going to like put a TJ Maxx on it or Home Goods or something, and you're going to be in there, and some little ghost head's going to pop out and be like, "Hey, girl."
That'd be fantastic.
I actually would love that.
I
I would
mean,
love that.
I just.
So they say sometimes too, you know, because I was looking into like why people see these ghosts and things like that. You said like in the picture, which you would think would be such great evidence, right? But so many people nowadays can like doctor photos and stuff that it's not.
Well,
right?
and I looked at the I should have printed it out to show you guys, and I don't know. I mean,
Would you believe it?
No.
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 See, but so some people say that these older houses, they have mold growing, right? Which can cause strange behavior. Again, put something into your brain, you know, like, it says damp buildings can cause shortness of breath, optic nerve inflammation, make you see dark shapes to float, you know, in your mind, across your vision.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, well, mold is bad, and we do know that.
Yeah.
So what if these places, especially in the basement,
Oh, 100%.
like you're inhaling all of that? I made sure my landlord took care of that, you know, like that.
I have mold in my house right now. It's
Yeah.
something we're dealing with.
You're in the mountains, like of course there's going to be, and it's probably damp because there's lots of streams, and you're by the forest, which has lots of moisture and growth, and
So I guess if we're gonna stay someplace, that we first have to get it inspected.
yeah,
Sure. Yeah, that's going to go over great. Hi, how are you? Yeah, we're the ladies from the Folktown podcast. We brought our own inspector.
we have a little bottle that we're just going to swab everything, make sure there's no mold. Okay.
We just want to make sure this place is
His
really
name's
haunted.
Mark.
You know?
We'll be right back.
Just figure stuff out.
Okay, so we've covered hotels. I mean, that to me
The
is
gamut.
like,
The gamut,
absolutely.
yeah.
And here's the thing: when we were doing Charleston, and New Orleans, you're guaranteed to have a haunted hotel because these cities are so old, built on such under horrific circumstances, on why these cities exist. But I mean, like, I feel it more in Colorado because the areas are so wide open. That's a horror in its own. If you think about, like, you ever look out over like a field and it is just all you can see.
It's beautiful during the day, but it's terrifying at night.
Terrifying at night.
I mean, that's a different kind of darkness. I try to
Absolutely.
explain that to city people that, you know, don't
There's no lights.
enjoy the outdoors as much as I do. You know, I'm like, that's a different kind of dark.
It's the literal void of light.
Yes.
You know what I mean? What they think is
You
dark
can't
is
see your hand in front of your face,
nothing.
kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which is why I get scared that you don't stay with me sometimes when I'm up in the castle. I'm like, someone needs to stay with me.
Like, this is not. I don't like this.
she rented a house. What was it? Alanis Morissette concert we went to? And she rented a house, and my dog had to go to the emergency vet.
Yeah.
So I had to stay home closer to the vet. And she was so funny. She was like, okay, I need you to promise that your phone is on because I'm going to die. Tonight will be the night. But you had Coco. Coco would have just held it down.
Probably not. She did nothing with the boo hag. She was just kind of like,
She's like, huh, that's weird.
yeah.
Maybe they knew each other. Maybe she's like, that's my girl.
She's just coming from her visit, Mom.
All right. Well, we have to go to Colorado and stay in hotels now.
Yeah, we do.
That don't have mold.
Yeah.